Man, I hate baking. Watch out, everyone out there. Let's draw. Let's draw. Hi, y'all. Welcome to FlamBae, my dumpster fire of a cooking show. My name is Yanni, and today we're making focaccia. Before we get into our little bread baking madness, absolutely go down and roast that like button. Roast! Set it ablaze! Set that like button ablaze! Bake it, broil it, sear it, fry it, roast that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It tells me, yes, I like videos like these, make some more. So this recipe is a part of my no spend January, a whole month in which I am spending $0 on anything, and that includes food. So this forces me to go into my pantry and use every last ingredient that I've been hoarding in there. This focaccia is from Dessert Person, written by Claire Saffitz. I'm a huge fan of hers. She makes a focaccia using a KitchenAid stand mixer. I don't have one, so I'm gonna be doing it by hand. But if the Italian nonnas in Italy can do it, I certainly can too. So I found this packet of active dry yeast that was opened maybe in the summertime. I don't know if it's still active, so we'll have to figure that out. 7 grams of active dry yeast. So the reason I have 2 bowls out is because I'm gonna make 2 different types of focaccia. Claire in her book says use bread flour. Other cooks that I trust say use just all-purpose. I'm curious to see what the difference in texture would be, so I'm gonna make both types and see which I prefer. So this is half a cup of water. It's literally at 105 degrees Fahrenheit. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. So whisk in the water until this yeast water mixture is fluffy. Now bowl number 2, stream in the water, whisk it. Okay, so let's let this sit for 5 or 10 minutes. Then we'll be able to see if this is active, if the yeast is living. This is like if we were in a nuclear explosion and then I wanted to protect myself, so I covered myself in other people's dead bodies, except in this situation, I am yeast. That's what we're doing. We're just like pulling off those layers. We're just checking to see, like, is anyone alive down there?
You know, it's not a weird example you could use.
What's not a weird example?
If you've had like an onion that's been sitting out too long, the outside layers will protect it from the inside.
Ooh.
Yeah!
Or like peeling away the dead bodies. Please cut and get it out of my face. Yeah, did you see that? Cool, so these 2 little bad boys are active. We're gonna add 2.5 cups of water into each of these mixtures. Let's do the bread flour first. This is Trader Joe's 10 grain. Is that gonna be an issue? I don't have just standard bread flour. It's like a little whole grainy. I'm hoping that this 10 grain bread mix does not weigh down the dough too much, but we'll have to see. You know, it's what I have in my cabinet, so it'll do. 770, 782. Now this is standard all-purpose flour. Oh no, I only have 400 grams of this. I have type 0 flour. Will that be too fine? I think it'll be fine. This is really high in protein. Jeez. Do I have to use a 3rd type of flour? Damn it. Do I have any more type 0 flour, please? I only have whole wheat. Okay. Ugh. All right, now I have to put whole wheat flour into this because I don't have enough. I really should have measured this out before I started the experiment. Okay, fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Whatever. I'm so glad I have no viewers in Italy, so... I don't have diamond crystal kosher salt.
Diamond crystal kosher salt.
Right?
Kosher.
Kosher salt.
Kosher salt.
Crystal kosher salt. I don't have diamond crystal kosher salt. Woo! In my apartment, so I'm using sea salt. Which means I had to adjust because sea salt tends to be saltier than diamond crystal kosher salt. So Claire's recipe calls for 17 grams of kosher salt. I'm using about 11 grams of sea salt. Perfect. And same deal here. I always try to incorporate my dry ingredients into one another as much as possible. That way you don't have dough that's like really salty here and not salted here.
Can you overmix this?
No. It's gonna be really hard to overmix, especially by hand too. Especially by hand. And now our our nightmare concoction. I mean, didn't I call this show a dumpster fire? Like I did. Because it is. This is a dumpster fire. Oh man, like what is this? Watch this be so much better. This is gonna come out delicious and I'm not gonna remember what I did. So type 00 flour is gonna be the most fine type of flour you have. The finer a flour is, the more readily it is able to hydrate and absorb water. Finer flours actually produce better breads. Okay, cool. Should I start mixing in? Let's incorporate. Let's add it into this bowl. I really should have tested this once. This is the first time I'm making focaccia ever in my life. I've eaten it plenty. I know what a good one tastes like, but I don't know how to do it. So I keep going until this is incorporated, until it's smooth. Will it ever be smooth? It's grainy. And I'm just gonna use a folding motion here. The indicator is when it's sticking to the dough hook finally, but I don't have one, so I'm gonna pretend like if it's sticking to the spatula then. I'm gonna cover this, I'm gonna let it hang out for 5-10 minutes. Cool, now our second bowl, let's toss in the dry ingredients. It's gonna feel funky at first, like what am I doing? It'll all come together in the literal and the metaphorical sense. Wow, this is pulling a lot more moisture than the other dough. I might even add more water to this. So this is coming together really nicely. Look at how smooth it's looking. We'll develop a little more gluten. Look at that, sticking much more than just a couple minutes ago. I'm gonna let this rest for 5 minutes now, 5-10 minutes, and we'll get back to the other one. You can already see a little bit of gas bubbles forming. Okay. So this we're gonna keep working a little bit more. Let's compare this texture. Much thicker. We're gonna keep going. This would have been worked a lot more nicely if we did have a stand mixer. It'd be like really, really stretchy. That's okay, we did it by hand for maybe 2 or 3 times the time that it would be on a dough hook. 1 rotation every half second for 15 minutes. 15 times 60. Then you're doing, and we're doing 1 rotation. But then how many minutes is that? 2 rotations. We guesstimated is needing this at a rate. My way is right.
No, you need to organize yourself.
Okay, I need another pen for this. So my sister did some lovely math, cross multiplication, a lot of fun stuff here. Claire's recipe says that she keeps the stand mixer going for 15 minutes. We kind of operated under the assumption that it was moving at a rate of 2 rotations per second. So we wanted to find out if it's at 2 rotations per second for 15 minutes, how long would that be for us who's doing this by hand? So if Claire's doing it for 15 minutes by mixer, we're gonna do it for 90 minutes by hand. Yeah, like we took breaks. Okay, a 1/4 cup of olive oil is going in each bowl. So we clean these bowls, put some olive oil in. We're gonna protect it so there's no stickage with some olive oil. Also, this is gonna flavor the dough. Make sure you have some really nice olive oil as I'm like rubbing these. I feel like Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality when she's playing the glasses. All right, so let us drop it in. Now this is the dough with bread flour. Oil up the tops just a little bit. I'm just oiling this plastic because when it rises, if it touches, it's gonna give you a little insurance. We're gonna let these rise for 1.5-ish. I marked on the bowls where they are before the bulk fermentation. So I'm gonna set these aside and wait until they've doubled in size. So here we have our bread flour, and here we have our all-purpose whole wheat type 00 flour combination. Let's remove the plastics on these. I mean, they look wild, wildly different. You can clearly see how different these rose. So this yeast is not dead. It did rise, it's living, but for some reason this just blew up. This really doubled in size. I mean, there are gas bubbles still going on over here. It's like, bake me, bake me. Now this one's a little slow, but you know, let's keep going with the experiment. Oil up your good little hands. These are gonna be your tools. So stick your fingers in. Ooh, nice. Oh, it tore. 90-degree turn. Pull it from the center and lift and put it down. From the center, pull up, let it fold, drop. Okay. In the middle, pull up. Nice. Okay. I like the texture of this one much more. 90-degree turn, fingers under. Stretch and lay it down. This is really beautiful. And now we move it into the baking sheets. So let's oil up these pans. Be generous, pretty please. Again, this is what's flavoring the focaccia. So use good olive oil. This is from Greece, this good stuff. Using your rubber spatula, drop it in. Tray number 2 with our bread flour, our 10-grain bread flour. All right, so the next step is, more oil to stretch out the doughs so it fills up most of this pan. Oh, this is much more heavy. This is much more dense. Wow. Come on, dear. Spread out, you've got this. So this is essentially like frying in the pan. There's that much oil. So we'll let this sit for 40 to 55 minutes. We're gonna cover it. I'm gonna grab some oil from the corners. Just oil up this bad boy. So if it sticks, when it sticks, it comes off easily. Gorgeous. Set this aside. In Claire's recipe, she recommends letting it proof for 24 hours in the fridge, so it does a little baby fermentation. You get a lot more complex flavors that way. But I want to eat it tonight because I'm a hungry baby. So we're going to let it proof for like 45, 55 minutes. Then we'll take it out and dimple, pop it in the oven. Cool? We'll see you soon. Take a break. Take it easy. Go ahead, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the temperature we're going to cook this at. Grab a little olive oil, pour it into a bowl. We're going to do fresh rosemary. This I stole from my neighbor's garden. A little red pepper flake. I didn't steal it. I just became very close friends with their gardeners when they were away all of COVID. And their gardeners one day were like, and now I have this beautiful, delicious rosemary from a hop, skip, and a jump away. We'll let the rosemary and the red pepper flakes infuse into the olive oil, and then we're gonna use this and top our focaccia with it. It's gonna get crispy, we'll get little fried rosemary bits. So grab some olive oil, rub it into your hands, and press into the focaccia like you're playing piano. This is gonna give that focaccia its classic signature dimpling. This presses out some of the gas and gives it that classic structure and look that it has. Grab some of your topper infusion and take it and just lightly sprinkle it on top, drizzle that olive oil, drop those rosemary little pieces here and there. Make sure you get a good amount all over. Having enough olive oil on top is really gonna make sure that the rosemary and the red pepper flakes fry on top. So if you look at the structure of the salt, it has that classic trademarked kind of pyramid shape. It has less salt content by volume. So if you took the same amount of kosher salt, sea salt, and Maldon salt would taste less salty than the other kind. But because it's flaky, it has those beautiful shards, it's gonna add just a little crunch, and it's just gonna be beautiful. It's just gonna be perfect. So we're gonna stagger these on the shelves so the air can circulate a lot more easily if you leave pockets here. Halfway through, I'll rotate these. Cool? All right, we'll see you in 25 minutes. We pulled these bad boys out, we let them cool for quite a bit of time. Let's take a look and see the differences between them. So you can see right off the bat that this 10-grain focaccia is much darker in color. The flour itself was darker in color anyway, so I think that accounts for that.
They're like right where your eyes are.
So right off the bat, you can feel the difference between these two breads. The all-purpose flour has a lot more force in which it springs back. The 10-grain bread mix, it's a lot more tender, whereas the all-purpose kind of blend, it has a lot more gluten development. And you were able to see that when we were folding it in on itself. That stretched and it had a lot more pull to it versus the 10-grain bread flour, it kind of broke sometimes. So it's interesting. You can actually feel in the final product the differences between those two. Perfect level of salt. You have that crispy rosemary on top. This is lovely and tender. This is so delicate, that the 10-grain bread, probably because it had such large grain particles. It didn't really maximize on its ability to create gluten. I like the texture of the all-purpose a lot more. That is fabulous. That is so fantastic. This bites like a good focaccia does. That is fabulous. Perfectly crisp top. The texture is so lovely. It's crazy. You can really taste and feel such a difference in these two. Because you don't have all these different flavors of the different grains in the 10-grain bread mix, you have just the clarity, the pureness of the olive oil. That comes out a lot more saliently in the all-purpose mix. There's nothing to say. It's simple, it is clean, it is quite crisp. You heard that ASMR. Flour, olive oil, and salt. 3 actual ingredients. We made this thing that's gonna last me for like 2 weeks. Y'all, go through your pantry, find what you have sitting in the back of there and do something with it. Get creative. Make a list. Write down every ingredient that you have sitting in the back of your cabinet and then find a way to connect them. Make dishes, make something new that you've never made before. You have a lot of tools at your disposal, I promise you. You just gotta get creative and have some fun with it. My loves, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. As always, my name is Yanni, and thanks for watching FlamBae. Percy.